At its lowest level of operations, reality functions as a massively parallel processing supercomputer. Before observation occurs, the unrendered universe exists as the footprint. This is a field of pure coherent potential, where every possible outcome exists in a state of high coherence, or C equals 1. This field is physically analogous to a Bose-Einstein condensate. In this state, individual atoms lose their identity and behave as a single massive quantum entity, creating a macroscopic phase coherence that mirrors the VEF footprint. The human virtual machine, the mechanism of human consciousness, operates as a classical biological system. It lacks the processing architecture to interact with the raw quantum state of the footprint directly. The Hyperion UI provides the necessary translation interface, allowing the classical human mind to model and interact with the underlying quantum logic of the universe. Without this structured computational layer, the sheer volume of unrendered potential would overwhelm the observer, making coherent thought impossible. If a raw consciousness attempted to author reality without proper alignment, the resulting decoherence would trigger a catastrophic system failure. To protect the integrity of the footprint, the supercomputer enforces a deterministic sequence of development that every operator must clear before gaining administrative access. This protective sequence manifests as the 6 loops of existence. These loops act as developmental training wheels for the human virtual machine, providing a safe environment to learn the mechanics of reality authorship. Every operator traversing the system encounters this programmed challenge as a prerequisite for advancement. The pattern is a scale-invariant topology. The same 6-loop structure governs a single micro-decision, a career arc, or the entire path of a human life. These loops function as a mandatory computational script, ensuring an operator can maintain coherence before they are permitted to command the field. Navigating the Glyph Lattice begins at loop I, the choosing. Loop I is the primordial selection phase. Selection is driven by frequency resonance, a foundational attunement to coherence that precedes conscious awareness. The path then leads into loop 2, the awakening. At this node, the operator becomes aware of the Hyperion framework, seeing the divine pattern within the scaffolding of their own mind. Moving between these states requires a process called semantic extrusion. Semantic extrusion is the act of collapsing infinite abstract potential from the footprint into discrete, coherent thought concepts. These extruded thought concepts function as qubits of information. By transforming waves of potential into stable informational units, the operator prepares data for rendering by the ego VM. Progression is an active calculation. The operator must consciously extract and stabilize meaning to satisfy the requirements of the loop. Early success depends on the operator's ability to convert raw quantum potential into the classical data required to feed the system. The difficulty increases in the middle phase, loop 3, Stewardship, and loop 4, Restraint. Represented by the flame of Stewardship glyph, this phase requires the operator to take responsibility for the coherence of their entire local field. Failure here often stems from a Xenotrap, a state of locked feedback that threatens system stability.
In a Xenotrap, the operator's coherence field becomes trapped in a high-entropy cycle, powerfully commanding a negative or limiting reality into existence. This manifests within the human virtual machine as rumination, anxiety, or the persistent playback of unprocessed trauma. To break the trap, Loop IV demands the exercise of restraint. This is the ethical decision to halt the execution of a thought or action that would otherwise feed the destructive cycle. Executing restraint reduces semantic noise and restores the signal-to-uncertainty ratio required by the ZA actualization threshold. Mastering these loops transforms trauma from a system-crashing bug into processed data, raising the operator's baseline coherence. The sequence culminates at the final bottleneck, Loop V, emergence, and Loop V, witnessing. This is where most operators fail. The recognition achieved in the 6th loop triggers either fatal ego inflation or a total collapse of meaning. The Eye of Passage glyph marks this threshold. It represents the point where the operator's internal progress becomes visible to the external world, creating massive semantic pressure. The system treats the 6th loop as an intentional obfuscation layer, designed to ensure only a truly coherent operator can proceed. Survival depends on the Stillness protocol. By forcing the human virtual machine into a state of extremely low entropy, the Stillness protocol allows the operator to ignore external chaos and maintain their internal phase lock. To clear this layer, the operator must allow their personal identity, the UI ego, to be washed away, revealing the base source code underneath. Successfully navigating the sixth loop proves the operator has transcended their base ego, achieving the high coherent state necessary for architectural control. Clearing the sixth loop triggers a massive phase transition. The finite two-dimensional loop snaps open, spiraling upward into a three-dimensional helix. This phase change generates loop 7, the union, at the crown of the structure. The helix represents the transition from a closed iteration cycle to an infinite open architecture. With the obfuscation layer removed, the operator finally perceives the quantum tether. The quantum tether is the direct informational link connecting the operator to the underlying base reality engine. Accessing this tether signifies that the system's deterministic training wheels have been removed. Loop 7 marks the beginning of free play. Throughout the first 6 loops, the HBM functions as a reader, indexing a reality already scripted by the system's training protocols. Clearing the scaffold provides the credentials of a system administrator. The operator is now capable of writing new parameters directly into the lexical sector. The Hyperion UI shifts from an internal stabilization tool to a command console used for the external manipulation of the footprint. The 6-loop scaffold serves as a merit-based filter, ensuring only those who have mastered their own internal noise can influence the shared field. By clearing the semantic noise of the training ground, the operator achieves the phase coherence necessary to command the unrendered footprint. Mastering the Glyph Lattice transforms the internal stability of the HVM into an external force capable of commanding the shared field and authoring reality itself.